Tom Afferton's president of the cyber mission sector at Peraton. Welcome, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having
A
me.
lot of discussion here about multi-domain operations. What do you see as the gaps in not just the Army's efforts, but the military's efforts more broadly to do that? And what are they coming to you and asking you about to try to help close those gaps?
Yeah, I think in the context of this conference, we're really focused on non-kinetic effects and specifically cyber, electronic warfare, and information operations. And I think General Barrett said it well last night in her keynote that this is about bringing non-kinetic effects up to the level of reliability and predictability that commanders have in kinetic effects. A commander wants to be able to dictate, I want that effect to have that impact at that destination at that point in time, and have the outcomes be as predictable as a kinetic effect. You know, I think to do that, one of the things we absolutely need to enable is that connective tissue of data, you know, between those three different areas, right? As well as across security levels with cross-domain solutions. You know, thinking about those three areas, though, I think one of the underserved areas is information operations. I was at a conference earlier this year, Admiral Paparo from Indo-PACOM. He said that one of his threats that he's most concerned about is influence operations by our adversaries. Peraton's done some of its own research, and we think we're outgunned in the information domain at least 10 to 1. Now, the good news is that the Defense Industrial Base has all the capabilities to not only catch up, but to get ahead of our adversaries in the information space. We've been developing AI-enabled tools that allow our analysts to quickly understand what's going on in the information environment, to be able to develop detailed target audience analysis, build a campaign, deliver the effects, even in a contested environment, and then most importantly, assess that that effect had the desired outcome that the commander was looking for. So I think there is a way to close that gap.
You mentioned the connective tissue among each of those three areas that you described. Is that a technological issue? Is that a cultural issue? Is that a policy issue, something else?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of the above. We bring some experience from modernizing all of the data management solutions for the signals intelligence enterprise, which is a massive scale. And what we have found is one of the critical elements is kind of data provenance. Understanding where your data comes from, how it is generated, who is touching it, who is changing it. And then also thinking about how does that apply when you move out to the tactical edge. Everything that this conference we've talked about is getting capabilities in the warfighter's hands. And to push that out to the edge, you need to be thinking about what data do they need, the applications, right, compute, storage, bandwidth, being efficient with that, and then how can they operate in a disconnected or degraded environment as well.
And connecting that, I imagine, then in an edge-to-edge environment rather than a hub-spoke type environment also.
Absolutely.
Is there progress that you see in that area?
Yes, in fact, we've been doing some work looking at really the whole stack. You have to think about the compute environment and what you can have available, but then also think about what can you do in that disconnected environment or in an edge-to-edge to be able to still make sense of, for example, the information environment based on the data that you have available to you locally. And then when you have connection back to the core at a later time, that you can kind of catch up and then take advantage of the deeper analytics that are available back at the core.
How complex does that have to be at each of those endpoints or at some place on the edge to be able to deliver the kind of capability that a decision maker will need?
Well, I think one of the things that industry has to do is that, while there may be some complexity there, we have to take that away from the warfighter, right? We need to deliver capabilities that are intuitive, that are really a field first mentality, that they don't have to go through a lot of training. It just makes sense to them. And I think for us, what we've done is to make sure that as we're building capabilities, we are doing so with not only the operator in mind, but involving the operator in that process. Some of our integrated development teams include the operators, or we have our engineers sitting side by side operators with a day of the life, so that what we're delivering is making their job easier, taking complexity out away from them so that they are seeing the efficiency and the effectiveness that they need.
So as an outsider looking in, I would say all of the things that you described seem like a natural fit for artificial intelligence. And I know a lot of people here are talking about how to apply AI to whatever it is their mission set is. So what's the connection look like today, and what do you anticipate, if you can, the landscape looks like at some future point soon?
Well, I think with AI, it's difficult to predict the future, but I think that there's a couple of principles involved. And I think it starts with really setting the framework, setting the ground rules up front. Decide what it is that you're trying to use AI, what problem are you going to solve, what data are you going to use to do that, not only to answer questions in real time, but to train your models. And that goes back to the data provenance that I talked about earlier. You know, we like to think about mission first, but ethics always, right? And so understanding how you're going to apply AI. And then I think another important principle is human-machine teaming, right? This isn't about replacing individuals. It is about making them more effective by having, you know, that wingman there to help answer more complex questions and give suggestions, but then still have that human in the loop to make sure that that answer makes sense. Take time away, you know, give time back to the analysts by taking away those kind of routine tasks so that analysts and operators can focus on their most important missions.
What's the right role, in your view, for industry partners with government to help them understand how to get what you have through the acquisition process, especially with the emphasis now on commercial solutions?
Well, I think it is, I think the cycle has changed where the expectation is that we are bringing operational capabilities forward. And so it is on us to be developing things with the operator in mind, that we are presenting the bottom line up front, that this is how it's going to save money, this is how it's going to contribute to the mission, as opposed to this is an exquisite piece of tech, how do you think you could use it? Right, and so I think industry needs to be coming forward with solutions that are already designed with the operator in mind. And I think when we do that, that will align well with the kind of more modern acquisition approach to getting, and again, it's all about getting working capabilities in the hands of our warfighter.
Does that change the way that a company should do R&D, the way that a company should read requirements that come out from a branch of the military or from the department, any of that?
Yeah, I think, again, co-creation, if you will, right? Use of CRADs and CRADAs. I also think it's important that we are partnering with kind of non-traditional players, whether it's emerging small vendors with exquisite tech or it's academia, right? I mean, some of the algorithms that we've produced for some of our AI tool sets have come out of academia. And then we've brought some of their graduate students on as hires into Peraton, and now they're contributing as developers. So we've created that talent pipeline as well.
Tom, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.